This is Heather here with Underwater Panther, and today I have been working on my Aquarius or INTJ archetype and at an in-depth astro-psychological analysis ebook. So I spent quite a bit of time today organizing. I had this book outlined a couple years ago, and I have taken quite a bit of notes outside of the book, so I was just reorganizing, and I'm going to be pulling from my Astro-Psychology ebook. I don't know how many pages it's turned out to be, probably like 200 or so. That is typical for my larger ego books. I have a car going by. I don't even know if you can hear that. This microphone is actually decent. I just got an MV7i, so there's an interface built into this microphone. I finally have updated my studio, and so I have better lighting. I've got my business logo. My business card turned into an RBG sign, logo sign, so that's awesome. I upgraded my microphone, my audio. I got some lights in here. I got electricity, so my studio is jamming right now. I am excited about it. I can now call it my studio. So anyways, this is going to be a very long video. I'm going to try to get it all done and crammed in tonight. This will be the largest Aquarius or INTJ video to date for myself. I will probably work on this the next week, the ebook, and launch it and put it in the description box below. I will plug in what I already have. I have a ebook. I think it's $22 of the 12 personality types. So I do combine astrology with psychology. I don't know anyone else besides one person. I have found one other person on YouTube that does this, and they are in another country. So I am a pioneer. I'm an Aries rising, and I pioneer as much as I can. And I'm actually my Mercury is in Aquarius, the 11th house. So I have to do everything in my own individual, unique way. That is something that Aries also understands. Aries is very pioneering. I have a lot of Aries energy on both sides of my family. And I actually just did a video about my great-grandfather. He actually opened up the first airport in this general area, out of his house. So I'm trying to keep that legacy alive through my own work and pioneering my own niche here on YouTube. So Aquarius, I have Aquarius Mercury in the 11th house, so I very much so do things in my own unique way, and I'm a Pisces 12th house ego, Venus North Node, and Capricorn 10th house moon. So that is where I am coming from, and yeah, so let's dive into the Aquarius or INTJ archetype in an astro-psychological way. So I am looking at my ebook now, and I will be going through. I'm not going to go through my preface. I have, my purpose behind the drive, storytelling, and archetypal function, fundamental use of astrology. I've got disclaimers in here. I have a lot. Personality type dynamics, my current theory on our astro-psychological report, so on and so forth. And I think I'm going to start at the ego. What is the ego? The sun sign briefing. So if you are an Aquarius ego, this is what your sun sign represents. Now, I understand that there are going to be cross watchers. There are going to be, Aquarius people with the Aquarian energy in the sun, moon, Mercury, rising, every placement there is. And so I just want to briefly go over what the sun sign actually represents, but do keep in mind that if you have a lot of Aquarian energy, wherever that may be in your birth chart, this video is definitely for you. If you have a child, if you have a partner, if you have a business relationship with an Aquarius, all of those types of things, this video is for you. All right, so what is our ego or sun sign? So the sun sign actually is represented by the month and the day one was born, and then the moon sign would be the time, or no, excuse me, the location you were born, and then your rising sign is based on the time that you were born. So right now I'm talking just about the sun sign. So the ego is our order function, and it is our personality's boss, who we are becoming and how we act. So it is our drive and character, and it is the conscious aspect of our mind. And do keep in mind that our conscious aspect of our mind, our ego, is only 10% of our entire mind. So I do get into the ego, subconscious, unconscious, and superego. I combine that psychologically with astrology as well. So astrology, the sun sign is our ego, the moon is our subconscious. The unconscious, I sprinkle in Mars and Saturn and some of the outer planets. And then our superego, astrologically, would be our rising sign, because our rising sign represents how we came into this world, how we present ourselves, our persona, as well as the mask that we wear. Or if we are triggered, we will go into our rising energy, and that is also known as our superego psychologically. So the sun sign, or the month and day you were born, guides our personality, characteristics, essential qualities, and actions in skill development, professional career. It's raining outside, and I just heard something funny. Oh, it was the door. I don't know if you can. I have like the huge bay door. I'm in a shed, and so there's like equipment and stuff out here. It's like a very open space, so that's why I had to get a different microphone so you could hear me better. But it is raining outside, and the big bay door is kind of blowing a little bit, but I had to open it because I get better phone service. So I don't know if you're going to hear that or not. I'm going to assume not, because it's a pretty decent microphone, but that is what that noise is, just in case you wonder. Scared me a little bit. So anyways, so where was I? All right, so our ego can involve our professional career, competition, all forms of social interactions. It represents the ego, creativity, and logic. So the ego, or sun sign, is the most conscious part of your personality, where your common sense and reasoning lives, and allows you to organize your thoughts and use them to make judgments on the external world. The ego, or sun sign, is your uniqueness and potential mastery. This is your strongest when healthy domain of your mind. It represents your approach and overall nature in this life. We identify with it strongly and have the potential to live consciously through it by personal and spiritual growth, development, fine-tuning, and integration. So the ego doesn't develop until the child realizes he or she is more than their mother, father, or guardian, which is certainly after infancy or 1 year old. Prior to that, we're functioning in our id, or animal nature. And the id and animal nature is very closely linked to our superego, or our rising sign, FYI. So our ego develops after the id in infancy, uses beta waves, and understands others have needs and desires too. So our id and superego battle to influence our decisions, while the ego is objectively looking at the situation. Our ego is here to protect us. It is our flow state. Consciousness itself is order, and we are conscious because of the ego. The ego creates order. Consciousness, the ego, is always challenging the chaos. So our ego's main priorities, or our sun sign. Number 1, control. The ego has the job of controlling and regulating instinctive impulses. Number 2, adaptation. The ego relates to the external and internal realities and tries to adapt to them. And then number 3, integration. This refers to the ability of the ego to integrate the different aspects of ourselves in our life. The ego really has been demonized by Western society, but I strongly encourage you to embrace who you are fully and be happy you were given your ego in order to be a unique individual. We actually work with our ego as well. And Ryan Holiday, I have one of his books up here, but he wrote a book called Our Ego is Our Enemy. And I will mostly disagree with that because, as you will find out throughout this video, our ego is broke down into 4 parts. Astrologically, it's our ruling sign, our exaltation, left field, and fall. Astrologically, it's our hero cognitive function, our parent, child, and inferior cognitive functions. Now, the top 3 functions are pretty consciously ran, but when we get into the inferior cognitive function within our ego, that is where we start getting into being triggered into our super ego chaotically, or if we can actually work well with our energies, then we will be, it's the gateway into the moon sign astrologically or our subconscious psychologically. So it could be a good or bad thing, the inferior function. The inferior function is what we have the most problem with, and it's only 25% of our ego. So I don't agree with our ego being our enemy necessarily. I would say it's more of the unconscious and super ego aspects psychologically. So why our ego isn't our enemy, which I don't even need to read that because I literally just described it. All right. So our ego is our powerhouse, our courage, and it has our greatest strengths. All right, so ego key points. It's the easiest, most accessible part of our mind because it costs the least amount of energy to use. Operates mainly in conscious and preconscious levels, but also has elements of unconscious because the ego evolved from the id. Our main goal is to become who we truly are through individuation. Our personality formation comes through struggle, suffering, and sacrifice through courage. I don't know how much deeper I want to go into this. Well, you are Aquarians, so I will go to the depths. I will get into the depths of this entire book. So this will be a long video. I'm going to try to do as much as I can tonight. So I greatly appreciate you being here. I might break this down into smaller videos. But please like and subscribe, write comments, anything, any questions you have, any comments, any experiences, any thoughts or feelings. Please do feel free to comment that below. I want to build a community here, and I'm an Aquarius Mercury in the 11th house. So you best believe that I absolutely deal with the strengths and weaknesses of everything I'm talking about right now. And you are not alone. So Aquariuses are actually the least common personality type in the world, and I don't know what the exact percentage is. Psychologically, they say 15% of the population. They say that INFJs or Pisces are the most rare, and in my own personal life, just personally, I would say that Aquarians are the most rare up with Scorpio. But, you know, that's just me personally. I know a hell of a lot of Pisces. But yeah, Pisces and Aquarius do actually have a lot in common, and we are the odd man out. We're the black sheeps. We do not fit into society whatsoever, and we tend to stand out for our uniqueness. So, all right, so integrating the ego personality. The ego is commonly misidentified with the concept of egocentrism. The selfish trait is actually of a person with a weak and undeveloped ego. To transcend the ego does not mean to erase the ego, as said in Eastern and New Age philosophies. It means to be no longer limited by or to grow beyond in an integrated way. The conscious ego is synonymous with a conscious mind. The ego is not bad, but necessary for a healthy existence. The ego represents what seems subjectively to be reason and common sense and is what we recognize as being and I, like I am. One of the fundamental functions is the testing of reality, but this does not bear full fruit until we are set free from inner conflicts between the id and superego. We are born without an ego because we cannot differentiate between ourselves and our caregivers. We develop more of a sense of self as we face reality and interact within the world. We want to become an autonomous, inner-directed human being through the process of individuation with an independent mind. The superego rising sign differs from the conscious in that its frame of reference is morality, not ethics, what one should do rather than whether it is right or wrong. It includes unconscious elements and is inhibited by our past and may be in conflict with current ethical values. During the pre-logical stage of ego development, the superego acts as a very restrictive parent. However, as successive stages of cognitive maturity are attained, control passes from the superego to the ego, unless not normally developed. Yeah, I need a drink of water or something. Sorry, excuse me. Oh my goodness, I definitely need a drink of water. Oh, yes, that's definitely what I needed. Got an energy drink too. All right, so the superego acts as a very restrictive parent. However, as successive stages of cognitive maturity are attained, control passes from the superego to the ego, unless not normally developed. With greater freedom from superego constraints and greater self-awareness, cognitive processes play an expanding part in the developing sense of morality, and this is culminated by an active searching towards a universal ethical system. Introjection happens when the functions of an external person are taken over by its mental representation of self. Parental figures act as guardians of a child until one can understand what to do in the absence of such guidance. In a mature mind, such introjects are inspected and provide guidelines, but an immature mind operates subconsciously as inhibiting restrictions and enforcing controls in perceptions, attitudes, goals, and behavior. Both ego strength and independence from the superego are essential for an individual to be truly creative and outside of the box of his upbringing and parental and peer standards. And this goes into nurture, how one was nurtured and raised. Intelligent, which is essentially the ability to quickly establish new and multiple linkages between thoughts, ideas, and feelings, is a necessary requisite of the creative synthesis. True creativity does not stem from the id. It is the result of a synthesis occurring in the unconscious ego with conscious ego direction. Its emergence into consciousness is prompted by relative freedom from repression and the dictates of the superego. Creativity reduces instinctual tension. It fuses pleasure with reality and satisfies the libido. Our goals with our ego is to return to our true self, regardless of upbringing, and use it in a creative way to ultimately create the reality we envision. Okay. So that's what the ego is and what we are trying to do with it. So hopefully you get a better understanding of what your ego or sun sign actually is. I think that was a good place to start. All right, so Aquarius, ego, and astro-psychological terms. So we have the sun in Aquarius astrologically and the INTJ psychologically. So I'm combining both systems together, and honest to goodness, they both align perfectly. It's amazing, and it adds so much more depth and understanding. All right, so Aquarius, they are a finisher type, and they are considered an intellectual. They are known as the strategist, and supposedly they are 15% of the population. I am going to exit some tabs here. I've got 20 tabs open. And I'm going to say a few keywords for Aquarius. They are considered the strategist, the revolutionary, the scientist, the eccentric, the visionary, the rebel, the genius or mastermind, the outlaw or the pirate, the free spirit, the activist or the humanitarian, the inventor, the alchemist or magician, or the exile. All right, so we're going to start with temperament, and this is just a little overview, and then after this, I will break down everything in depth. So the primary interaction style socially, this is temperament for an Aquarius. They are direct, responding, and movement-oriented. and I will break these down later. The secondary temperament within their interaction style socially, they're abstract, pragmatic, and systematic. They are future thinkers, and this goes for the air. Air in astrology represents thinking and communication. And then astrologically, it is considered intellectual, and they are future thinkers. They are all about systems and probabilities, and they live in the world of what if. So the abstraction, what if, future thinkers. All right, so I do take into consideration the four sides of the mind astrologically, or I'm sorry, psychologically. This is a psychological thing. So I look at this astrologically and psychologically, and so I kind of keep them separate. It doesn't exactly, like psychologically, I would say, yes, most definitely it plays into the ego. But when I'm pulling up someone's, I don't know if that was the wind. That definitely sounded like an animal. Okay, I'm gonna close this door real quick and check my audio because that's absolutely freaking me out. So BRB.